So let me ask you, we have dentists, mechanics, restaurant owners, healers, lawyers, all walks of life have foundations through us. Anybody can operate these. It doesn't matter what industry or enterprise you were in before, anybody has the right to operate these. Okay. I want to ask you, if you're a dentist, who did the work? Who pulled the teeth out? Did your nom de guerre corporation pull the teeth out, or did the flesh and blood being pull the teeth out? So who's entitled to the undiminished dues? You are. So why wouldn't you want to allocate those digits wherever you wanted? And do you understand now they're just digits? They're just digits in cyberspace, guys. When I go through the debt stuff this afternoon, we actually sent off to the banks a recent download from the RBA site, which says that only 2.83% of currency appears in notes and coins. The rest is in cyberspace. It's fiction. It's fiction. So if you did earn those digits, or however you wanted to earn that, are you not entitled to that? So let's just talk quickly about income tax. We had somebody email us yesterday or the day before, a little bit upset with us, saying, well, you know, we do have certain things that we need, like roads and hospitals and so forth. And that's true. Let me show you the difference and where that money comes from. So here's a loaf of bread. Pretty good, huh? It's fresh out of the oven. Let's say that loaf of bread is $4. You know how much of that is tax? Have a stab. Anybody heard of compound tax? Yeah. Roughly $3.30 the last time I had a look. So how's that so? What are the 4 ways that that comes onto your table? Don't we have the farmer, the miller, the baker, and the retailer? Well, let's just look at what happens in between all of these. What happens? Freight. Let's just look at freight before we do anything else. What about all the license and licensing fees and what are they called? Patent fees and so forth there is on the engine, the carburettor, the tyres? What about the income tax on the driver? What about the 7 taxes on the fuel? Just look at the tax just in the freight component. Now look at the tax that the farmer paid when he bought his beautiful seeds from Monsanto. Woo, Monsanto! And all the tax that he paid on all the pesticides. And then the tax that he paid his the workers. Anybody been in business in manufacturing or wholesale? You have what you call your COGS, your cost of goods. So what happens is you get your cost of goods that has already all these taxes built into it. Then you add your profit and costs, and your costs might involve labour and income taxes and all the taxes you have, and you pass that on. Don't you continually pass that on up the line? So a $4 loaf of bread's got roughly $3.30 in tax. The rest is substance. That's where the tax comes from to pay for infrastructure. Your income tax goes where?
Interest.
The IMF, the International Monetary Fund. When the government's mortgaged you off, there's a cost to that. We had a dentist at my workshop about a year ago who has just been head down into this information, and he said, just prove it for yourself. Remember I said don't take anything I say as fact. Go to the ABS, the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and just remember that 82.5% of all statistics are made up on the spot. He went to the Australian Bureau of Statistics and found out what the population of Australia was, how many of them worked, what the average income was, therefore what the tax was, and that tax bill was so remarkably close to our payments to the IMF it wasn't funny. So your income tax doesn't go to infrastructure. So if I show you how not to pay income tax, which is voluntary in the tax charter, then all you need to do is feel sorry for the IMF, not for your fellow man in the roads and the infrastructure. That's where all that comes from. So how much tax do you think you're paying when you bought your bottle of water on your way here today, or the 7 taxes on your petrol? You're paying loads of tax. Loads of it. This is how most people's day looks. I did this for Steph when I first met her. We caught up for a breakfast or a brunch or something, and remember I ran through this on a napkin? So we've got 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So here's the average PAYG, or pay-as-you-go earner. Gets to work at 9 o'clock, They work till roughly 11:30, paying what? Income tax. And that's going where? You reckon most people know that? They'd be happy with that? No way. What are we borrowing from the IMF for? What have most nations borrowed the IMF for? War. So, I don't want to be too brash here, but if you're happy to pay income tax from now and ratify legalised genocide, that's up to you. Then from roughly 11:30 till 2 o'clock, you're paying indirect taxes. On your bread, your water, your pet, all that sort of stuff, yeah? Then from 2 till 4, you're paying your mortgage, debt till death, or rent, which is somebody else's debt till death, yeah? And then from 4 till 5 is you. How's your day looking? Tell me I'm wrong. I've got a big chin. Stand up, tell me I'm wrong. I think roughly 2 to 4 hours a day, we hunt and gather, and the rest of it should be, what, darling?
Making love and picking berries.
Yep. Absolutely. But look how much time is spent in the illusion with all these fictitious digits. I want you to look at the world and remember, how old do I want you to be? 4 years old. I want you to ask why. Why, when you go to every metropolis, you see these big shiny buildings, and what's on the top of them? CBA, AMP, KPMG, all the companies to do with what? Digits. Digits in cyberspace, because everyone thinks they need insurance, and all the debt that they're running around in. What's going to happen when those digits disappear? We'll talk about that this afternoon. Yes. So I guess I just wanted to cover that if we can show you a way to operate more freely and be able to sustain yourselves, then that's a very distinct possibility for you. The essence of a foundation, where's that form? Here it is. If you want a foundation, let Steph know. She'll email you one of these documents. You can just fill it in online. I will just read what we put on here, because the essence of the foundation is not only that you sustain yourself, and you don't have profits, you have surpluses. It's okay to have a surplus, and you can reinvest back into housing or whatever it is to house your family and friends. You can do whatever you like with this foundation, as long as it is for this. Before completing this form, we ask you to consider deep within whether the intention behind this foundation is not only to help the participants, but your fellow man. The essence of the foundation is to give back. Okay? That's a really important side of it. It's not about, a few people have mentioned tax, minimising tax and all that sort of stuff. Yes, that's great, but then if you can do that and you are more abundant, then give back. I've always given back, and it's just amazing, whether it's through Kids Helpline. We're now giving heavily to Destiny Rescue, and I think that if everybody could start operating through a foundation and say no to the IMF and to these corrupt organisations, and actually then start giving back, wouldn't the world be a different place? Yeah. You know how many of our foundation owners, 6 or 12 months after opening, we go, man, I've got so much spare money now and time because I don't have to sit with my bookkeeper and accountant, because you don't do tax returns anymore. You do not have an ABN. You've now got more time and more sustenance and surplus to then start giving back. And that has a snowballing effect. So Steph's going to talk to you quickly about Destiny Rescue. And what that will do is start to change the way that you see the world. If you can start to give back to other organisations. It doesn't have to be Kids Helpline or Destiny Rescue or whatever sort of research. We've got one guy who had a really tough upbringing, and he reckons he wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for his karate club. His karate club became his family, and now he gives all his spare money to the karate club. But it's about giving back. And are you not then transparent? You're not transparent with your intentions about what you want that foundation to achieve. You're entitled to your undiminished dues. You're entitled to be abundant. But give back. There's only one bank that opens these accounts up, and it's Westpac. We've got contacts within the bank. If you just go and try and get one over the counter, you have to be very careful how you open them up, because as you're going through, they acknowledge that this organisation doesn't have an ABN and therefore can't do tax returns, because any other organisation has to offer that information to the bank. But there's little drop boxes that you've got to be careful, which is why Steph or somebody from Truthology will actually normally accompany you to the bank and make sure they're opened up properly. For instance, when they're going down, it might say number of employees. And we've had them do this right in front of us. They'll look at a number of participants and they go, 2. You're now back in the public. There's 0 employees. There are what they call principal participants and participants to the foundation. Like you have directors or trustees to a trust, you have participants to the foundation. Okay? So we've got a really beautifully worded document, which is your articles of association. If you have a company, you've got your M&As, or if you've got a trust, you've got your trustees. These are articles of association which notice everybody that you are super and sentient beings, that you are there to sustain yourself and to give back to humanitarian purposes, over a 7-page document. That's what's required by the bank. We also issue with minutes. The bank will require minutes of how you are to set the accounts up and so forth. We issue also with letterheads, purchase orders and invoices to show you how to operate the foundation. This is a document that I love because a lot of people will say, this sounds all too good to be true. Anybody feeling this is too good to be true? You be honest. Yeah. If you're invoicing people, you normally offer a tax invoice now, don't you, with GST on it? Well, you can't do that anymore because you're an NGO. You don't have an ABN and you're not going to be GST registered. You're private. You're in the private side of things. Like a wallaby is eating his gum leaves without a licence. You're operating privately. However, other organisations you're dealing with are what? Public. So the ATO have even given you a remedy. I'm going to talk to you about remedies this afternoon. This is called a Form 3346. You can print it off the ato.gov.au site. Okay. I want you to notice, I've spoken to you quickly about maritime law. Anything in a box can't be seen or heard, yeah? So please fill it out in the boxes. And we can show you how to do all that. You just tick the bottom box here. The whole of the payment is exempt income for the supplier. And down here, you sign it on behalf of the foundation. But look at this little box here. Remember, anything in a box can't be seen or heard. This is what you give your supplier. So if you've got regular suppliers, you just give this to them once. Okay? Do not send this statement to the tax office. Come on, it's printed off their site. Don't send it to them. Right? Give the completed statement to any payer that you are supplying goods and services to. The payer must keep this document with other records relating to the supply for 5 years. And then they're compliant. You're compliant and they're compliant.
What's the number?
3346.
I sent you that if you have.
Yeah. When you open a foundation, we give you everything on how to operate this. Isn't that a beautiful document?
So just a question on the admin side. So I mean, I do contract work, and let's say somebody wants an invoice from me to claim.
Yes.
So what am I? Do I just say I don't do that anymore because I'm an NGO?
No, you
I just give them
Yep.
that form and that's it.
Yep.
With no financial, like $85 or whatever.
Oh no, you still send an invoice with dollars on it.
I still do that.
Oh, you were still trading in that
world.
world of fiction. This is just a way that you can stay private. Yeah. But yeah, you just issued in the 3346.
Is that every person you're trading with? Like
Yeah, technically you should. Like we've got some friends that have got a jeweller shop in Byron, and they're thinking, well, we have to issue for everybody. Not everybody asks for one, you know. So you can use your
It
own
also
discretion.
comes with merchant facilities as well.
Yeah, look, the account with Westpac's awesome. It's got internet, debit cards. So we're going to talk to you about being debt free this afternoon. So we've got debit cards because we still want to hire cars and hotels and so forth when we get around the place. So that's the Feeling Humble Foundation. Steph's last name is Humble. So Feeling Humble's going to double. All that sex, isn't it, darling?
That's the same as Mr. Phelan, the pie maker. His nickname's Fingers.
I'll do the humour.
Do you cover, so I guess a few of us here would have existing assets in our own name,
Yep.
which presumably is with a non-natural entity.
Yep.
Do you cover how to get unpicked back so that
Yep.
it can be on that?
Yeah, we normally do that on a case-by-case basis. But yeah. So with the bank, where was I? You get internet, debit cards, checkbooks, merchant facilities. Anything that you have now, you can get with this, and there are 0 fees because you're a not-for-profit foundation. Westpac's the only bank that does it. Heritage Building Society, we've opened a couple up there, but now they're not issuing
There's no
debit cards, which is, you know, quite critical for most of our people. And I think Mullaney Credit Union, although somebody that's just applied through Mullaney, they asked for a tax exemption certificate or something. So anyway, Westpac, we've got a great relationship with somebody in Brisbane and the Gold Coast. We've had a lot of clients write off Westpac debt, and they've got a Westpac foundation, and they haven't gone in to touch the foundation, but they have gone into their private account and pulled out money. So if they stop paying their credit card, Westpac have gone in and pulled money out of private accounts. But we've sent letters and we're dealing with that as well, because they don't have the authority to do that. Okay, so with the foundations, what else is there? Now, if you've got an existing business, with existing businesses, and here we're going to say this live, guys, I haven't paid income tax since 1994. I haven't even put a tax form in since 1994, because one of the words that you need to be really conversant with is acquiescence. You acquiesce to be part of the tax system. Do you realise that you apply for a tax file number? Do you know that teachers are getting a commission for getting kids to get a tax file number as soon as possible? It's the police commissioner, the Australian Taxation Office commissioner. It's all about the money. Okay, so you will apply for all of these certain things, and you will voluntarily put your tax form in at the end of the year, because it's a taxation declaration. You're declaring you want to pay tax. Does that make sense? And you're running around on the fear that they're going to come and tap you on the shoulder, and maybe they will, and then you need to have the knowledge. But I ask you, why have I not been approached since 1994? So how I used to operate before was I'd start up trusts and companies and corporate trustees to the trust and all the tricky things, and then I'd never even put a BAS statement or a pay my ASICs bill. Never. And ATO would write to me and ASICs would write to me and go, you're very naughty, you're not complying, and if you don't, very soon we're going to deregister you. And then about a month later they send another letter going, we mean it, we're going to deregister you, and then a month later they deregister me. So I go and start 4 more companies. And I did that for the last 15 years until I had this knowledge. Okay? Never been approached. I don't know if it's vibrationally because I know that I don't have anything to pay, but we've had clients who have come to our workshops who haven't paid tax for 22 years. Never even been approached. So if you have an existing company or trust or sole trader or whatever it is, I will never give you advice. As I said before, I'm not going to add advice to anything. All I'll ever tell you is do what I would do. And what I did was I just stopped acquiescing to those companies. I got sent the nasty letters and they deregistered me, and you start operating through the foundation in the private side. Now, we had one of our clients who was a mechanic. He set one up for his mechanics business. And some people come kicking and screaming out of the public side into the private side. But essentially he was one of those until he's really embraced it now and he's super confident. But he just thought still a bit worried about this. So he rang, was it ASICs? I think he rang the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, and he said, oh look, I want to deregister my company. Yeah, it was ASICs. And they said, okay, well you need to fill this form in, and I think it was $148 or something. Don't quote me on that, but it was some sort of fee. Of course there's a fee to do anything, right? And he said, all right, okay, but what if I don't do that? And they said, well, don't you what? He said, well, what if I don't do anything? She said, well, we'll deregister you. She went, have a nice day, sir.
Cost you nothing then.
That's right. Whatever. Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you for being here. If you're a PA, currently a PAYG, if you are a contractor, then you just simply start contracting through your foundation and give the person who's you're contracting to your 3346. We've got a lot of PAYG earners who say, oh gee, I wish I could have a foundation. And we suggest that they approach their employer and say, look, Mr. Employer, I don't want you to have to worry about your payroll taxes and my super and all that sort of stuff anymore. How about I just contract? And this is quite a big thing at the moment. There's a lot of businesses wanting to just contract their people out for liability and super reasons. And if they say yes, that's great. You don't need to mention that you're a foundation, just that you want to contract and have a separate arrangement. Get the contract all sorted and then start invoicing them through your foundation. 50 to 60% of the people, would you guess? Their employers are saying yes, and the others are just not. Like we've had Queensland Health and some big employers just go, if we do that for you, we must do it for everyone else. But 50 to 60% of the people have been successful in negotiating a contract arrangement, and now they're not paying any income tax.
So if the
Got one guy alone was an engineer, and he's now $300 or $400 a week better off. Okay, so here's the tax return. It's an old one. Actually, I've just seen the new one. It's a bit different. But if you are PAYG, firstly, there's a way you can fill out your tax declaration form when you get the job. Remember they ask you to fill a form out? Or you can start filling that out saying, actually, no, I don't want to pay tax, with a covering letter. But here's the tax declaration form. And so what you do is you fill it in like a good little corporation in all capital letters, because that's how they ask you to fill it in, isn't it? In blockhead. Block letters, please, blockhead. And inside the box, so we can't see or hear you, because it's all fiction. Now, what you do is on page 2, where it says here your main salary and wage occupation, if it's a dentist, don't write dentist. If it's a mechanic, don't write mechanic. Your occupation is agent in commerce. Who's filling this document in? Your agent in commerce is. It's on behalf of your agent in commerce, because you can't pay tax. Do you remember the public and private you? Yeah. Who's going to pay the tax is your corporate entity. That's what's been taxed. So if you're trying to get the tax back, okay, it's your corporate entity that was taxed. So you write agent in commerce, and here's the best part, you don't need to worry about all your deductions and returns or all that sort of stuff. Because how much was your income? 0. If you've already paid the tax and you want to get it back. If you, without knowledge, had your corporation pay the tax. Okay.
So
you're right. Sorry?
So on everything that you purchase that has a tax on it that you paid, you can actually...
No, that's a separate matter. That's if you're operating as a foundation, you can start issuing purchase orders, which notices them that you're now an NGO, not-for-profit, not entitled to pay tax. But, you know, some of the time, I'm not going to talk with the 16-year-old at Coles and give her a 45-minute lecture when I'm there to buy some free-range eggs. You know, so we're very philanthropic still.
And in large scale, you would...
Oh, if you're doing a big purchase, yeah.
Do you sign that, or do you just put a small print with the dots in the front?
No, yeah, so when you get around to the back here, the new one's got a really big box now, and without this here, but it says here, for your tax return to be valid, you must sign below. Okay, because your signature is the weight behind everything, and you'll see when we talk about the debt this afternoon. So what our clients have been doing is writing, as grantor, on behalf of agent. You can write this down if you want, or email us and we can get it back to you. As grantor, you're issuing this trust now as the grantor. Okay, because in trusts, everything's about trust law, which is another seminar, guys. But in trust law, there's the grantor, the trustees, and the beneficiaries. And you've all been construed into trusts as the trustees. And who pays when you go to court? The trustee. What do they call prisoners in America? Trustees. So anyway, you write as grantor on behalf of agent, then write your name in the truth, ... whatever it is, and then under that write a limited liability, all rights reserved.
So you don't sign it?
Yeah, you sign it now with your name in the truth. Because when you sign your name in cursive, to curse is to speak to the devil. So now start...
It's very important when you actually do sign your name in the truth that it's not...
Yeah. You write your name up in upper and lower case and as upright as you can, not to the side. Guys, I don't want to get too deep into other areas. We'll do more advanced workshops. I've just given you the 101 stuff today. Is that all right? Now, what a lot of our clients do as well is they actually, because they do want to be seen or heard, and they're actually declaring that they're signing this on behalf of their agent in commerce, they actually white out the box.
They white out the box?
Yeah. Because in a box can't be seen or heard. Do you want to be fiction or do you want to be real?
Real.
Yeah. So there's a covering letter that we can give you to send that off as
So
well.
it says grantor on behalf of...
As grantor, on behalf of agent, then your name in the truth, limited liability, all rights reserved. There's a guy by the name of Mark Patelik who actually did get the tap on the shoulder, and I think his was 14 years as well that he hadn't paid tax. And he sent off the returns that way, and he got 14-0 assessments back, and I've seen them with my own eyes.
So with that there, because you know how with your PLYG, the business already taken the tax out, and if you put that in, saying you have 0 income,
Yep.
then the government doesn't have to release those taxes back to you, do they?
Again, somebody that we know's wife has done it. We've had a few clients just doing it at the moment, and she got 100% back. I'm not saying you
So
will.
there is an avenue to get that.
Well, you're claiming you want, when you put on the form there, that my agent in commerce did pay that, however the income was 0, I'd like the whole lot back please, in a covering letter. and in the documentation.
That's
You want
only
the whole
from the
lot
time
back.
that you make, you declare yourself a non-profit, or was that in the past?
No, that's nothing to do with that. The not-for-profit is just a way you can trade in an enterprise.
So you could
This is-
bought every receipt for everything you bought and the tax that you did pay on it, you could...
You don't need any more receipts because your income's zero.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that what you had paid
Yep.
in the past, you could keep your receipts and claim back that tax they took from you on
Yeah.
that purchase.
We're going to entertain that. We're so busy, mate, with debt and just foundations at the moment. We're part of a few different study groups that's entertaining that, and there's other issues like around stamp duty. You've paid stamp duty where you don't need to, and there's people now writing and claiming their stamp duty back on property under all sorts of other laws. That's, yeah, let's keep it nice and light for today. Yeah. So when you're, as I said, when you're filling out your declarations, if you start a new place of employment, we've got a guy who's just given us one to do as well, you can then declare that you don't want to pay the tax. It's because it's of your own volition